Okay. Now I want. Whenever we were over this stagnation before, this whole Caitlin Clark phenomenon, an Angel Reese phenomenon that's hitting the women's basketball market, and now they've evaluated an extension of growth where I'm seeing memings off performances. Women's basketball has generated an amounts growth over the past 20 years where we there's more commercialization than ever, and usually we don't even get this much stigma when it amends to privilege. Now, over the notion that we talked about the product, it was mainly on court products. Hell, NBA fans don't even protest whenever an underperformance in the All Stars even happens when they half-ass it because they don't want to risk injury. And we're not even asking for them to get a pay rise. But when the WNBA is making the the virtual net medium like around 78,000, I think I saw Angel Reese for professional athletes where you're still monetized and heavily produced around $1 million corporation, even though it's not making a stagnant profit, you could still compensate when you guys are pushing two expansion franchises into the NBA, to the WNBA, like the Golden State Valkyrie, and I think Toronto's getting a new relocation, especially with media rights, the new media rights deal that also adheres to the NBA after leaving TNT. That also goes to WNBA involving the media rights deal for $2.2 billion going to Disney, Amazon, and NBC Universal because the NBC broadcast returns the NBA broadcasting as well and represents a significant increase where the marginal profits around like I think 20% of the marginal profit goes into the profit for the WNBA players. Now, the shut up and dribble notion goes around a lot, involving the notion when you NBA fans want to just discredit the talent that is trying to make a living and have family to feed. And that even goes around even more when it comes to pushing maternity leave. And then we roast over the sexual orientation. And then you guys want to discredit when you guys only watch one clip of WNBA basketball. And you want to cut off these athletes' chances of making a living. When some of how we work our jobs and we suck and we think that our life sucks and we go back, I also have to work a 9 to 5 to try to pay for software, edit for my own food and clothes, bro. And when you're trying to reasonably promote in a universal effort involving employees to packed around and trying to get a bigger piece of the pod, involving 50% of the revenue over a medium split of WNBA athletes, profiteering for a bit more money to squeeze over to a corporation, I would say why not? These athletes deserve more. We could say that over streaming services, even YouTube is not even profitable. Over the stagnation, over the monetization rights and ad revenue, and then YouTube, if you're monetizable, you're able to get compensated. Who said you had the profit to still pay off your debt, to pay off the employees? They'll still push over a compensate if push comes to sub. And over in united effort with most of the WNBA players, why don't you want to get higher pay? And the NBA fans are taking it like they even watch the product enough to be like their hard-earned money. No one ever goes over WNBA off season. Nobody goes over WNBA day-to-day off season. Nobody highlights anything unless it involves Caitlin Clark, because that's the only recognizable player that they can shove up their ass that has the media coverage to even go over most of this. So I don't even want to hear fraudulent NBA fans talk about this. I think it's a reasonable just cause if you see the amount of revenue that WNBA players have to go overseas to European leagues when you're already playing for something that's a sister project to the NBA, and you're not even getting marginal revenue to keep you guys playing more consistently, and that can cover over maternity leave to make this more of a legitimate sport that can mark up pro athletes, so they can get more WNBA players to expand their product. Because I'm sure if this was the NBA, and you're pushing only 20% of the revenue adhering over to the players, the highest contract would be 10 million. You would feel like that type of bullshit because you're obviously you're the product that's adhering to making sure that you're the eyes worth seeing. Just saying that it's just Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, some of the fans are the problem here. The last thing I want to say when it comes to the WNBA of how they inherently villainize the platform that's giving them what they are to keep over in business and trying to evolve their style of play to keep the audience going, but they're still developing where they're garnering this much of attention now, and then when they get more piece of the pod, they deserve that. I'm sure if you go over to your work right now, because you won't, because you're too much of a bitch to try to actually talk to the manager that you're working for and actually put over a shirt feeling like I am worth more than this. Please, please don't. Please don't. Because I feel like pro athletes and any other employee would try to vouch for that. But trying to denounce that they don't deserve to get at least inherently paid over a certain margin of the profits that they're pushing, as the overall product these athletes are making your league, and over the net, even the negative networking that goes over to a WNBA team making profit margins of going 11, but then they make 200, they make a billion over networking rights. You know where that 50 million goes to. That's ridiculous. That goes over to broadcasting rights, media, concession, parking, property, broadcasting, paying crew. You think there's not a net negative when it comes over to NFL, NBA? NBA probably has to lose a lot more money because how much profit margin goes over into keeping the business afloat. And I heard this was much. This was a bit much. WNBA loses 50 million every year, and never guaranteed profit. Deserve $0. Fans get harsh about the WNBA star statement originally appeared in Fadeaway World. That's the source. In the 2025 WNBA All-Star Game was supposed to be a celebration to showcase the athleticism, star power, and the league growing reach. Instead, it sparked the most contagious online debates that the league ever faced, with Caitlin Clark and fellow All-Stars donning warm-up shirts that read "Pay us what you owe us," in a statement meant to highlight the long-standing gender pay disparity in professional basketball. The reach from the fans online was anything but sympathetic. The viral comment summed up the backlash bluntly. The WNBA loses 50 million each year and never generated a profit. You deserve $0. They're employees, bro. The harsh and no doubt, but reflections of large sections of sports viewing public who feel that the WNBA financial reality doesn't support the stars' demand for better compensation. For context, WNBA has never turned into a profit in its 28 years of history, and prepared pre-2023, the annual losses hovered around 10 million in 2024, and under the balloon saw that the number balloon to 50 million. Even the league's revenue grew over 200 million. It's a bitter truth, but the NBA owns approximately 60% of the WNBA, subsidizing the losses since the league inception back in 1997. The WNBA operational existence depends on that support. And then we're denouncing that these women get paid over the profit margins that they're even, still generating over an amount of interest over in the business, and they can't get a piece of the pod. You sports fans are really starting to get me pissed off more than WNBA players back in the mid 2010s. Got a bunch of Brittany Grinders here. Over the market revenue rising and the new rights deal with new expansion teams, you're telling me that these people don't deserve money? Ridiculous. I can understand over if it's not an attractive game to some. I get that. Well, we need to keep it a buck, folks. These are hard-working people. That even if it's not appealing to the eye to the grand majority of things, saying that they are denounced compensation for their hard-ass work over a line of a niche that's still profiteering for media rights with corporations like Amazon, and then they have to still perform, and you're telling me they get to make them bare minimum? I'm gonna say this the nicest way possible. You guys don't. Certain fans like this never want a sport like this to evolve, and that's just a matter of fact. That's just a fact. That's just a fact of life. There are certain people that never want stuff to innovate, but they'll still ask for it to innovate. You're telling me 10 years later, around the media rights, when you have to watch the WNBA on now a more accessible networks, like Prime Video, possibly Netflix, YouTube TV, and the monetization rights with new leagues, new players. Probably WNBA can probably add up over the evolving door, the evolution of the sport. Possibly going to get more advanced players, even if they still can't dunk. You're saying that these people don't deserve pay? That's just flat out ignorant. Tell me how you guys feel in the comment section below. I only got one person over on the vote on the post I put over on a question earlier today. Said yes. Hopefully we get a lot more yeses. Pay these women what they are owed. Any people that are helping making sure that you guys stay afloat deserve more compensation. In my opinion. Tell me how y'all feel down below in the comment section.